All right, so Itumeleng has the following expenses for his birdhouse business: rental for the stall at the flea, 250 per week. So he's got that fixed cost that he has to pay every week there. Also, his transport per week is also a fixed cost. Wooden boards, 287.40 for a bundle of 6. So he buys 6 of them at 287.40, and then he will paint for 21 rand and 40 cents per birdhouse. Sundries, so that extra cost is 10 rand and 90 cents per birdhouse. So Annex D on the graph represents Itumeleng's weekly income and expenses for the birdhouse business. We have weekly income and expenses for making the selling the birdhouse, so amount in rand. The income is straight up and the expense is there. So we're going to look at where the graph starts, but number of birdhouses there. So let's look at the income first. Income is the dotted one. Okay, so number of birdhouses, if there's 0, there's no money. But now if you look at the expense, number of birdhouses 0, but he is paying 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. So he's paying 1, 2, 3, 350 rands, even though he did not go and he did not, even though he went there and didn't sell a single one, he still has to pay his costs, which is the cost of transport and the cost of rent, even though he didn't make any birdhouses. So he's still paying his transport, but when he starts making them, that's when the cost is going to increase even more, always increasing with 350 plus, right? So the other one is fixed, so that's why the graph starts there, because it's fixed. The cost is some fixed costs there. We're going to look at the graph and everything, and it's going to tell us. The equation to calculate his weekly expenses can be written as follows. Okay, so this thing, 350 rand is the expense, which is the fixed expense. That's why it's there at the beginning plus, and then we have the variable expense that changes, right? Okay, so where does the 350 come from? It's the 100 rand per week, and the 250 rand per week, they are fixed per week. Now, it says there variable cost for each birdhouse. The variable cost for each birdhouse is P. So let's find out how much is the variable cost for each bird house. So wooden boards is 287 rand for 6. So this is a cost for 6. So to find the cost for one board there, you have to divide that by 6, and then we have plus 21 rand 40 plus 10 rand for each house. And then it says show how the calculation of his fixed weekly costs was calculated. That's the nice part there. That question is nice and easy. So that one is easy because it's the 250 plus the 100 rand. So the fixed cost is equal to 350 rand from the rent plus 100 rand from transport, and he will pay not 350, 250, and that becomes 350 rand, and that is per week, right? And then we have calculate the value of P, the variable cost of making one birdhouse. Now, if you go there, there's the cost for making a birdhouse, but that's for making 6. And then there's more, and then there's more, right? Okay, let's find out first there how much is one board. As we had seen in the first part, this board here is all used entirely. So let's go and find out how much one is. So what we're going to do is we're going to say 4.3.2. We're going to say cost for one board, and then we're going to calculate that. So we're going to say 287 rands and 40 cents divided by 6, and we get 47 rands and 90 cents, right? And then we're going to say, okay, so cost for P. And then we find out what P is, which is the variable cost for one board, for one birdhouse. We have the board for 47 rand 90 plus the birdhouse paint, 21 rand 40, plus sundries or extra expenses, 10 rand 90, all the extra things that you might need there, like you know, the steel nails and stuff they didn't give us. So that would be the cost for all of that. 10 rand 70, and then we can say plus 21 rand 40 plus 10 rand 70, and that gives us 80 rand. So one board will cost 80 rand, and then one birdhouse will cost 80 rand. Explain break-even point in this context. Let's go back to the graph and see. There's the break-even point where you find that the number of birdhouses is 5, and the amount for cost is 750, and the amount for income is also 750 rand. So here the break-even 4.3. In this context, we're talking about boards, we're talking about birdhouses, and the money coming in and the money going out, right? So the cost of bird houses is the same as the income, or the expenses of the birdhouse is the same as the income from selling the bird, same number of bird houses. Don't mind my English, I'm just rushing through this. Anyway, during one of the weeks, Itumeleng made 15 birdhouses but only sold 12. Show by means of calculations if he made a profit or a loss. So they want us to calculate his profit or his loss, right? So how do we calculate profit? Profit is income minus expenses. So what we have to do is we have to go find 4.3.4. We have to find, since profit, I'm just going to write it, is equal to income. I like to write the formula even though I might not have everything. Income minus expenses. Because once it's sitting right in front of me, now I know I need the income for the birdhouses and I need the expense for the birdhouses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and first look again. The birdhouses that he made are going to be 15. So this one is for 15. The income, the expense, he's making 15. So that's how it's going to cost him. But he sold 12. So the income is going to come from 12. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start over and do the calculation. So let me start with expenses, which is for 15 birdhouses, right? And then I'm going to say, there's the formula there. It said there, the formula is, right? 350 plus P times the number of birdhouses. We calculated P. P is 80 rand. All right, so now let me find the expenses here. The expenses are for 12. It is 350 rand plus P times number of houses, right? Where am I getting that? It's given right there, right? It's given right there. So I'm going to then substitute for the expenses and say it's 350 rand plus what is PP? We calculated it up there. It is 80 rand multiplied by the number of birdhouses. For the expenses, he made 15. And therefore, now we can say 18 times 15 plus 350. So let's first find out what is the actual cost of 15 birdhouses. 15 times 80, and that is 1,200. So that will be plus 350, and that's 1,550. You don't have, let's see if we can see it from there. From here. 15 for the extra cost, so that's the one there. So that's 1,550 there. 50 calculated, read it from the graph, either way. Right now the cost, the income, the sales, income from the sales will equal to, they didn't give us a formula, but it's just the number of, it's how much is he selling the birdhouse for? And let's go find out. Okay, they're not telling us how much the birdhouse is. For one, we're selling, so we're going to have to go to the graph. we have a graph so that they know it's going. If you, they didn't tell us because they know it's also going to be found on the graph. So if he sells 0, he gets no money. If he sells 2, if he sells, let's see, where else can I read it nice and proper? There, if he sells 8, he gets 1,000. No, that's not the one. If he sells 10, he gets 1,500. You see that? So we're going to find out for 1, how much is it? Or we can just read it from the graph and say for 12, how much is it? And there you see it from the graph there. That's 1,600, 1,700, 1,800. It's right there on the graph. We can read it there. Or we can find out how much 1 is and multiply it by 12. We don't need to because it says there it's 1,800, right? So now let's find profit. Profit, we said it's equals to income minus expenses, right? And then we're going to say profit is equal to income 1,800 minus expense, which is 1,550, and therefore his his profit is 250 rands for that particular day. Oh, I'm so tired. Okay, that is the end of 4.3, which means the end of question 4. See you in question 5.